Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Solution Seekers. I'm Kelly. I hope everybody is having a marvelous evening. It's almost midnight here in Los Angeles, and trying to wrap up this day. Um, you know, Thankfully, George Floyd can move on with his life. Well, move on to the next part of it. Hopefully, we can move on. I guess they had a memorial and his funeral today, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. Got caught up with too many things, and I'll try to watch the rebroadcast later on the night before I go to bed. We're out here in Los Angeles, we're off lockdown, so once I make this, I'm going to take me a drive for about an hour. Just try to clear the head, deal with, we all have stuff to deal with. Life doesn't stop, and it keeps constantly throwing stuff on the doorstep, and you can't run from it, but you just have to deal with it the best way possible. That's what life is. For me, as I said the other day, it felt like my hope was dwindling, and I think my hope was dwindling because the last few weeks with the protests and the riots and everything else, I had to kind of like take stock of my interactions with law enforcement, and a lot of times it didn't go well. I won't speak on that now. I'll say that for another video another time. But it's not nice. But it was just a constant reminder of the PTSD that's associated with trauma, and it is what it is, and it doesn't define me, but it's how I respond to it, and it's a good eye opener. That and trying to write my life story for my website. That's also interesting as well. I wanted to come on here and say tonight that, since George Floyd had his memorial / funeral today, can we move forward? Can we look back over the events of the last few weeks, seeing what occurred, what were the mistakes that were made, and how can this problem stop? With Breonna Taylor and Arbery, and it's not going to stop, obviously, because we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people in the human condition and not the human spirit, because some people will always feel that they're better than us. So, and I like to tell people I have all these haters because I'm so damn sexy, but we already know that's not true. But that's just trying to make light of the situation at all times, and laughing at myself is sometimes the best thing for all intents and purposes. But collectively, can we move forward? And I hope, I sincerely hope that in the coming weeks, months, next year, 18 months, 2 years, is that people are still going to have that same energy, that same commitment, that same fervor to stand up, because we have to stand up for one another. It's not just it's not just a singularity, but it's collectively, because we all live in this world together. Like I love to say, one person can only do so much, but collectively. And this just wasn't a local or a regional thing that happened in the United States. It went as far as from Ireland all the way to Australia, over to South Africa, because people are living under oppressive regimes. And I'll say they use the word regime lightly. They're living under oppressive systems. And and I think a lot of people are just getting tired of the same old status quo, because they're starting to realize that it's not working for me. So what do you do about it? It's never what happens that ultimately is the main concern. It's about what the hell are you going to do about it? And to make effective change in any ways requires a lot of commitment, a lot of heartache, and a whole lot of work, and disappointment and frustration. Because look, in 2012, when I made a few adjustments in my life, and for that change, and man, and you know what? Looking at it about almost 8 years later, man, a lot of that stuff came at a great expense. Now, granted, the experience of everything I've got to experience since 2012 has been great for all intents and purposes, but and I'm still not done. But it just comes at a great cost, man. And then, you know, when you start asking yourself, was it really worth it? But then looking back, that's when I'm having a pity party. You know, those moments come in where we're like, oh, poor me, poor me. Why is all this happening to me? You know, but none of us are exempt. Why not you? You're not exempt from life's ills. But the question is how do you emotionally manage that? How do you continue with that commitment that you made to yourself when those phases and stages and dilemmas pop up in your life? What do? Do you keep that same enthusiasm you had when everything was going good? Because when everything is going bad, I really hope that you can still keep that same enthusiasm, because that enthusiasm from that opposition it's a good time to learn something about yourself and going forward, because that one challenge you may not have maybe conquered you, but the next time it pops around, guess who's going to win? You know, you got to fall forward, seeing what your objective is, and then keep going to it. That's what commitment is all about, and in my opinion, anyway. I have a great commitment to everything I'm doing, because I really don't have a choice. You know, there's nothing nobody can just write me a check, and it's going to solve all of my issues. Now, granted, I wouldn't have no bills to worry about, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna have to deal with life ills, and wills, and chills, and you know, that one of the great points about living in life is that I get the opportunity to do it, because even when I'm having a bad day, if I can make it through that day and make it to bed, I wake up with a lot of gratitude, because it's not going to last forever. You know, it's just going to last for a moment, and I really have to go through and start looking at that process as something that I want to hold, that I want to cleave to. Going through those phases and stages are, you know, they can be really difficult at times. You know, sometimes they become all consuming. But it's my belief that, you know, there has to be some type of crushing point that happens to us in our lives, because we can't just continually going through things where everything is just all nice and it's like rainbows and butterflies and ice cream and, you know, whatever. But I think there has to come a point in time to where events happen, and those events are going to define us in ways that we're yet to even know or yet to be aware of. You know, just like sometimes it's like if you ever committed a good deed, but then it keeps becoming bad, or if you said the wrong thing to somebody and it ended up turning good, you just don't never know. But I think I think that's the crucial point is staying invested in doing something, whether that be good or bad, because sometimes that what you do is a good thing, it turns out to be bad, and vice versa, and it's just one of the complexities of life. And I think I have so much gratitude that for the good things that happen to me, the bad things that happen to me, and also for the indifferent. The indifferent is that the things that they really don't have no good or bad meaning. I try not to use good and bad, because equating a positive or negative or good and bad, I have a seated expectation. Now things are just going to be, it's going to be what it is. It is what it is, and let's go forward. Let's still deal with it, but yet not give so much power, whether it's in a good way or bad way, because at the end of the day, it's just an experience of life. You know, the good thing is that I get to wake up to have these experiences, because I know a lot of people that don't. You know, as I'm saying this on a Thursday night, some people are not going to have the ability to wake up Friday morning, and I pray to God that all of you are still there. And I don't want to see anybody pass, but the thing about life, nobody gets out of life alive, and it's bewildering at times, but it's one of the true benefits that we get in life. You know, that our time's going to come, and then hopefully we've done everything that we wanted to do. Because one of the most wealthiest places in the world is a graveyard, because look at all the thoughts, ideas, and ambitious thoughts that people had who never really took action on them, because they allowed fear to come into their lives. Fear became the one manifesting oppositional factor in their lives, and they couldn't get over it. Whereas me, you know what? I'm always putting my best foot forward, trying to evolve, trying to grow, trying to do things a lot differently than I ever have before, and it's frustrating, and sometimes I ask myself, man, is it just really worth it? Do I really know what the hell that I'm doing? And I said, no, I don't know what I'm doing, because does anybody really know what they're doing? I just think that I don't think that anybody really knows what they're doing, but I just think that we wing it, and hopefully we've made the best decision for all intents and purposes, and things just happen to work out to the best of our ability. And I think that's one of the highlights in life, because a lot of people don't look at the highlights in life. They always try to look at the low points, or they try to look at the really, really, really high points. But there's a whole lot in between that needs to be looked at, analyzed, and ooh, it's getting hot in here. And hopefully, you can see where you went wrong, or you see where you went right, and try to replicate that in another facet of your life. That's what I try to do first and foremost. I'm not always successful at it, but I would rather. It's always better to attempt to do something as opposed to not attempt to do something. And I don't have to be convinced to do something that I said that I wanted to do. My commitment keeps me focused on that. Sometimes I can't always meet those deadlines, but at the end of the day, you know what? As long as I'm putting some type of energy in to make some changes in my life, hey man, you know what? I know so many people who are just going with the status quo, rather than be homeless, rather than be dealing with substance abuse problems. Lots of people in prison, and lots of people who are just stuck at dead-end jobs or in relationships to where they hate to come home. You know, it doesn't really matter. We all have these different obstacles that we deal with. But at the end of the day, man, it's not about the obstacles. It's about how we deal with them, and how we allow ourselves to cut the chains of oppression in those situations and go forward. And I said that because I pray to God that, you know, moving forward with everything that's happened in the last few weeks, the looting, the damage, the interactions, 45 and his asinine behavior to show a force to some protesters, some peaceful protesters, is that we just live in some interesting times, and these times don't define us. But what does define us is our actions on how we respond to whatever life throws at us. Hopefully you've got some quality and value out of this. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit that like so I can move up so other people can see this video. And until the next time, catch you later and be safe.